Hi, everyone, and welcome to the very first Software Success of 2024. Said that right the first time, so it might not be correct the next time. So 2023 is still on the brain, but goodbye 2023. Hello 2024. So I see everybody is joining in. I'm excited to have you all here with me today. As you guys know, here on our Software Success sessions, we talk about all things dime embroidery software. So I love these. I love sharing my love of software with all of you. If you are new to the Software Success lives that we do, then you're going to love this. Make sure you ask questions over there in the chat. The chat moves really quickly. So if you put like a couple of question marks in front of your question, that'll help me pick them out easier because I love to answer. And I try to make sure that every question gets answered. If yours gets missed, feel free to ask again. That does not bother me one bit. I love for you guys to get your questions answered. So tell me over in the chat where you're watching from. I see a lot of familiar names already popping up. And tell me what you worked on for the holidays. What embroidered gifts maybe did you give? So I love to see some of those things as well. I see lots of people talking about their weather. I'm in Florida, South Florida, so it is still summer-ish here. We're having some a little bit cooler for us, but I see lots of people that have some winter weather going on. So thanks for joining, Chris. We appreciate you being here. And Dawn from St. Louis, Laura Parks, thanks for joining. So I love her comment that she was looking forward to this and that she had added an alert because her memory is about 5 minutes long. Laura, I bet that you're not the only one that has that 5 minute long memory. I know I have that from time to time too. So thank you for joining as always. So good to see everyone. So very cold Massachusetts. So Sheila, stay warm. So lots of people from cold areas. So sunny Cumberland Plateau, Tennessee. Thanks for joining, Carolyn. Good to see you. Happy New Year to Palma from Oregon. Thanks for joining. So hopefully everyone really had some fun and enjoyed their holidays and got some fun stitching done. I love to hear and see what everybody's doing. If you haven't already, share some of your things that you've made with your Dime software over there on our Dime YouTube and our Facebook channel. So head over there, share a picture on our Dime Inspiration Software user groups. Love to see those images as well. So Laura says, I like all the software. And so she has to figure out a way to afford them just one or two at a time. So I think that's a great way to do it, Laura. And as you know, Laura, because I know that you join these frequently or on our user group, there's some crossover. So depending on your program, you can do some things in the same thing in different Dime software. And I try to make sure to share that as we go along. So, hey, Jennifer, thanks for joining. So good to see you. And Karen, you guys know Karen LaMandola. She's part of our education team and teaches software lessons for us. So Marianne, thanks for joining. She is a frequent flyer and I appreciate her being here. Kelly, thanks for joining. Kelly, good to see you. Lafayette, Louisiana. I bet it's a little warmer there for him as well. So thanks for joining, Linda. So good to see all these familiar names. And we have like tons of people that have our cut and stitch software, which is what we're talking about today. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy this. So cut and stitch software is a program that will allow you to create cut files, but also create embroidery files as well. And so that's what we'll be talking about today. And if you don't already own cut and stitch, don't worry. We always have a special. You can check with your local dealer, but even if you own some other piece of Dime software, you will still learn something today because I'm going to be using our text feature, which is in a lot of our program. So these software success lessons, even though I'm using one particular piece of our Dime software, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't learn something. And today we're going to be talking about combining digital cutting and your embroidery, because that is the exact purpose of the cut and stitch software. It will work great with your digital cutters. You can save a digital cutter file format, but you can also create an embroidery design as well. So you guys are going to love this. If you want to do some new things with your designs, this is a great program to do so. So cut and stitch will allow you to create artwork files, or read in artwork files, or export or save artwork files. And a lot of times artwork files, the most common one that you might be familiar with are our cut files that we use for our digital cutter, but they are files that are usually like SVGs, but also vector file formats as well. So you might recognize some of those DXF, PLT files that'll go to your cutters. FCM files also we can save to, but an artwork file has no stitches. It's just the artwork shape, but cut and stitch will allow you to convert that artwork file not only into a cut file for your digital cutter, but you can also change it into or convert to an embroidery design. So we have the ability to do applique in cut and stitch. And then there is a way that you can do some fill stitches and satin stitches for small areas that I'll be sharing with you, but mainly applique, because we use that with our media that comes from our cutter. So our fabrics that we've cut, or even like HTV that we're putting in embroidery. But cut and stitch will also allow you to change that artwork file into a rhinestone template design. So the rhinestone template design allows you to cut out a template, and you'll rake all your rhinestones in that template, and then be able to transfer that and fuse it onto an item. And since it'll do those three things, you can have any combination of those three different file types all in one file. So your design that you create might be part rhinestone, it might be part embroidery, it might be part artwork file that you just want to cut out. It'll do all of those things. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I think that you guys are going to really enjoy this. So I see some other friends popping in. So thanks for joining, Caroline. Aine McCarthy, so good to see you. You know Aine, she's one of our educators here. And Phil Beck, thanks for joining. Also another frequent flyer, Reen Wilcoxon from Embroidery Gardens, thanks for joining. Dawn from Creative Applique, thanks for being here as well. And also thanks for joining Anne Reed. So Anne says that she has a silhouette too. And I agree. I have a silhouette. I also have a Brother Scan and Cut. And any cutter that will read a stitch, an artwork file like an SVG, will work with this particular program. So, okay, so I'm over in my software now, and you can see I've got those 4 designs that were just on my screen there. And so I want to share with you some details about each one of these. And I'm going to talk about how they were created. So the first one is just an artwork file. So let me zoom in. I've got the 4 different designs there, but let's talk about each one before we create. So this particular design here is just an artwork design. If I head over here to my sequence view in my cut and stitch software, I'm going to collapse everything here, and you can see that I've got 4 objects in my sequence view. Each one of those objects are these different designs. So if I click on this first one, you can see that it highlights that first design, so I know exactly what I'm selecting. That is an artwork design. And I know that it's an artwork design because I can tell visually on the screen. But if you are unsure, you can check your sequence view. Your sequence view down here in the bottom right where my cursor is blinking, I can see the different objects here in my list. And it says artwork in 0. So artwork is telling me that's just an artwork file. The 0, there's no stitches. It is only artwork. I have an artwork snowflake. That's that first one. And then the 3 after that are the letters H, M, and E. And we're going to see how to create this. And the second object here, you can see when I click on it on the screen, it also highlights over here in my sequence view. And it is grouped. I'm going to push the plus sign so I can see the different layers underneath. So I have one complex fill that has 9,436 stitches. That is the Snowflake. And then I have 3 applique objects, which is the H, M, and the E. Okay, so I can tell a lot about my just over here in the sequence view. Now, the third object here, if I click the plus, you can see it says bling, 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 and bling. For each rhinestone design. So bling is what we call our rhinestone designs. So that has all rhinestones to create the H, the snowflake, the M, and the E. Now, the last object is a combination of rhinestones and embroidery. So if I click the plus, I still have these 2 objects here. I can see that I have a bling stroke, which means bling or rhinestone outline. That is my snowflake. And then the applique letters, H, M, and E. And the last one here says text. That says sweet home. So the last one I've got home, sweet home. And the sweet home is a text object. Now, I get this question a lot in all Dime software about wanting to change the text, and you can't do it as easily as I sometimes show on screen. That's because if it's not a text object, you will not be able to just go in and change the text and reapply. And I'll show you a little more on that. But I just wanted to point out all these different types of objects that we have in these 4 designs that we see here. So let's go over to a new page and let's create this design and convert it into each of those different types. And then I'm going to show you how to change that into design. So I see a couple of comments about my sound. Let me double check my microphone here and see if we need to make any changes. I'm going to just flip and then flip back. Okay, it looks like it's on the right microphone. So hopefully that will help a little bit. I'll try to talk slow and repeat because it looks like I'm on the right mic. And internet seems good, so hopefully it will hold out. If it doesn't, I can always re-record this so that it is a better sound. So, and then I see someone says that they're not hearing it, so maybe it could be okay. Okay. So sound better. I see sound better. Thank you so much for making the comment. You guys are awesome. Okay, so now I'm going to create this design that we were just looking at. So just to reiterate, if the sound is was broken up, this is an artwork, this is an applique and embroidery file, this is a rhinestone, and this bottom one is a combination of all of those 3 different types. So let's see how to create this, and then we will convert it. Okay. So I'm going to start a new workspace, and let's first get our snowflake design. So built into Cut and Stitch, you have a library of craft shapes. Each one of these categories has hundreds of different artwork shapes. Any of these built-in shapes, you can select and cut on your digital cutter. You could turn it into a rhinestone design or an applique design. So any of these built-in artwork. You can also bring in an artwork design that you already own, which I'll go over in 2 weeks. Okay, so under my Christmas category here, I know I have the snowflake, so I'm going to go down and grab that. Now, here's my snowflake by itself, but these mittens here that I've selected, they actually have a snowflake on the mitten. So I could, if I couldn't find an individual snowflake, I could select this design and just use the snowflake. But since I have the snowflake individually, I'll grab that and click OK. And now let's click our text. So I'm going to click our text tool and add the text to my workspace. And then I'm going to add the text that I want to say. I'm going to do H, M, and E and click apply and choose a different type of text. I want something bold and that'll show my rhinestones and my applique really well. So from my list here, if I scroll down, Cooper Black is a really good one. That's one that most people probably have. and I can resize this and make it as bold as I need it to be. Okay, so if I click and drag this larger, so these double triangles here, click and drag, I can make it bigger. And I'm going to make it a size that kind of matches my snowflake here. And now I need a gap between the H and the M for the O, and I can use this double triangle here to make that happen. So that's allows me to increase the distance between my letters by just clicking and dragging, and it'll make that distance for me. That actually works in any Dime software that has text. So with your text tool selected, click on your text, and then you'll have these little objects that you can use to adjust the spacing between your text. So, and I think that looks pretty good. Okay. So now what we've done is we've created an artwork file. And the artwork file can be cut out with our digital cutter, or it can be converted to another type of design. So first, let's talk about if you want to cut this out of, say, heat transfer vinyl, or maybe you want to cut this out of fabric to make a design that is applique with your sewing machine, you could do that. Or if you want to cut this out of pressure sensitive vinyl, select the design and click the cutter file. The cutter, oh, and it says it's too large for my my mat here. Let's see what size we've got. So yeah, so my mat is only 12 by 12 that I have selected, and so this is 14 inches wide. So we can either resize it, choose a larger mat. So I'm actually going to rotate this around, and then let's choose our cutter object again. It'll say it's too large, but from my media, I'm going to choose a larger mat, like the 12 by 24 here. Okay. And so you can see I've got the H, the M and the E is one color, and the light blue is another color, because if you're cutting it out on your digital cutter, you might be using different types of fabric for different colors, or different colors of your media. Okay. So it separates that out. You just simply need to save to the format for your embroidery machine, or I'm sorry, your digital cutter. I'm going to save to my desktop, and I'm just going to call this our home. And from drop down list, you can see that I have SVG, AI for Adobe Illustrator, PLT, DXF, FCM, and PDF. PDF, if you want to cut this out with scissors, you can save a PDF file. But for a digital cutter, SVG, PLT, DXF, for FCM are probably going to be the formats that you use. Okay. So I would choose SVG because that's the formats that I use for my cutters, and click save. Now it's going to save those files for me. These are just cut files. If I move this over, I have an SVG for the letters and an SVG for the snowflake. Okay, so really easy. And now these SVG files, I just need to take files to my digital cutter, however you normally do it. If you transfer wirelessly, you can do that. If you use a USB stick with your digital cutter, then put these files on a USB stick to take them to your digital cutter. Okay, so it's that easy. Now, if you are using HTV, we normally cut out HTV from the backside, so you do to make sure that you mirror image this before you cut. And we do have the ability to mirror image that design by clicking the mirror icon here on the toolbar. Okay, so then you can see our H looks the same and our snowflake looks the same, but our M and the E we can see is mirror imaged. Okay, so if you're cutting from HTV, then mirror image. Now I'm going to go back to normal, and then I'm also going to rotate this around, so because I like to look at it this way. Okay, so now we created an artwork file. If you want to turn this into an embroidery file, you simply select, you can click and drag, you can click Control A, everything, and then simply click the icon on the toolbar. So for embroidery, we've got Run, we have Applique with an advanced stippling fill. We also have a vinyl applique. So let's just start with regular applique here. When I click it, it does the work for me. Now, is that easy or what? So now I have an applique embroidery file. So you can see I get the placement and the tack down, and then that finishing stitch. Placement, tack down, and finishing stitch for each of my objects. Now, the center here for my snowflake, to me, that's a little skinny for an applique. So what I would do is either make that a rhinestone design or have it be a regular fill embroidery design. Now, fill embroidery is not an option here, but if I turn that back into an artwork file, and let's go over here and say artwork fill and click apply. Now, when I have the artwork selected and I click on this wizard, it says, do you want me to automatically digitize that? And if I say yes, it will turn that into a complex fill embroidery design. Okay, so on the toolbar, I have applique run or vinyl applique or fill applique. But if I need it to turn it into a fill stitch because it's a skinny area, I can select the auto vectorizing option. Okay, and so that is just as simple as it is. Let's look at these different types of applique and then do our bling, and then we'll answer some questions. Now here, I'm going to select my H, my M, and my E, because I also want to show you these other types. So we have the ability to turn it into a run stitch. So some people like run stitch applique or just a run stitch outline. We did the applique already. The applique with the advanced stippling, these are fill stitches that will stitch over the applique design. Okay, so just a little different look. And we also have something called vinyl applique. Now, if you look at the vinyl applique, it has a trapping stitch in the inside there. That's going to secure your HTV so it doesn't rip away from the inside. We like to have that additional stitch for just additional security. But when you're using HTV in your applique, you do want to make sure you fuse that down. Okay, so there's your applique embroidery options. Now, if I select all of this again and I decided, you know, instead of embroidery, I want it to be a rhinestone design. So if I click, my rhinestone options are a bling stroke or a bling fill. Now, when I do the bling fill, you'll see that it fills the letters, but really because the snowflake is narrow, it's not going to change a ton. So I'm going to click that. And now I've got a rhinestone embroidery design. So the fill design for the little snowflake here, it has a little bit different, one little extra bead in there. And so if you wanted to remove that or add more, you're going to need to use your bead tool. The bead tool will allow you to select one bead and either move it. Let me zoom in here. So that one bead, let me go to my bead selection tool. So I could either move it, also delete it if I want. And then whenever I go back to my selection tool there, then well, let me see here. For some reason, I've got two beads there. And delete. There we go. I had one on top of the other. And now let me go to my selection tool. And now I just removed that one individual bead. So now this is a rhinestone design. Now for a rhinestone design, you need to cut that out with your digital cutter. And you do want to save this to the format for your digital cutter. And it's going to save in the format for your digital cutter, but all of these little rhinestones are going to be individual circles. So if I take off my 3D realistic view, you can see that this is just a bunch of circles. That's what your digital cutter is going to cut out. Okay, so that means that the size of that circle is important because your rhinestone is going to fit in. So over here in your properties, you have the ability to change the size of your rhinestone. I have mine mostly chosen a list of 10 SS in different colors, but I do have a 16 and a 20. But let me show you how you can change. So this is actually using the blue color for H. So if I click on the number 6 down here in my color palette, it opens up my rhinestone bead palette. And I can change that size of that blue bead here. So I can choose an 8 size, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, 20, 30, 34. And your rhinestones that you purchase will let you know what size they are. So let's just change it to a 12 so you can see a difference. And I'm going to say, okay. And you can see how those got a little bit bigger. Let's make it even larger so you can really tell a difference. So I'm going to go up to 20 and click OK. Now you can see those circles are much larger than the ones in the snowflake. And if I turn my 3D on, you can see that now it looks like a larger rhinestone. So the larger that number, the larger the hole it's going to cut to accommodate your rhinestone. The other thing I see here is that my E is overlapping with my M. If I click on my bead tool again, you can see that these two beads turn red. That means that I've got overlapping beads. So that is also what's happening here with my my snowflake. So if I click over here, I can see that I've got it created twice. I'm not sure. I may have copied and pasted and didn't realize it. So I'm going to delete one of those. I'm going to delete the top one. That's the black, and then go back and click my tool again. Now the only thing that's red that I see are here and here. And now instead of deleting those, what I would do is just select the E and kind of move it out of the way. So now when I go back to this bead selection tool, that's what we're using right here. You can see that nothing is red. Okay, that means that I don't have any overlapping beads. Okay, so now to export this, you're going to choose File and Export Bling, and it's going to create two files for me in the format for my cutter that I choose here. So choose your machine format. And you can choose if you want it to be 2 different pages or a single page. Now, in this case, if I was going to use all the same color rhinestones, I would put it all on the same page. But if I want to use blue rhinestones and then clear or crystal looking rhinestones, I would probably put it on 2 separate pages so that my rhinestones don't accidentally get mixed in with one another. And then when you click save, it's going to do the same thing that it did with the design. We're going to call this one our bling design. Bling home and save. There we go. And once it's saved, you can close this out. And it actually saves that file as an SVG file. So if we do file and open, I can see I've got my Bling Home FCM 1 and 2. So if I double click on those or click the open, this is what it created. So you see all those little circles? My digital cutter is going to cut that out so that I can fill that with rhinestones for my template. So if you haven't done rhinestones, I have a little video that I'll show you. And we can see how that works. And there's the template for the snowflake. Now, this square box here is a cut box that's going to cut around. And you know, it can help you line that up because you can see that it's the same size and it matches the H, M, and E. But really on the Bling file, I usually just make it the size of what I'm cutting, or I just don't do it at all. So you don't have to cut that file if you don't want to. It's just to help cut that around so that you can lift your template material. And I'll show you a video of how that works. So, okay, before we go on to see that, let's see what questions. I saw a couple of them pop up for questions. So here is that Dalu, maybe. I want to put noties in notes sections. Oh, notes in the notes sections to tell me the name of the font that I use. I've done this in the past, and when I save the file and I reopen it, the notes are blank. So we can talk about that. What can we do? What am I doing wrong? So I'll talk about that. That's actually a really good way to use notes. So when I go back over, I will mention those notes. That's a good one. What module are you using in the toolshed? So this is our cut and stitch software. Cut and stitch is, that's what it looks like there. Cut and stitch software program. It combines your digital cutting and your embroidery. So it's a really awesome program, and lots of features packed in such a small program too. So Dawn said she just got a Cricut 3. She's so excited to learn. That's awesome. That's a really awesome machine. So so definitely you're going to love this. So hopefully you've got cut and stitch already. So can you move the design when generating a cut file? Can you move the design when generating a cut file? So yes. So whenever you create the cut file, and you head to your embroidery, your digital cutter, you can move it around the mat if you want, or you can save it in the location that you want from the software. But most of the time, I usually just save it, go to my digital cutter, and then I can put it wherever I like to on the mat. So depends on which cutter you're using. So it's still breaking up in the sound. So she said she's on YouTube. So hopefully, Palma, that's getting a little bit better. Hopefully. If not, like I said, I can re-record this to post it, but I'm not sure what else to do at the moment. So hopefully it's doing okay. And then Karen Lamandola says, are you saving as a C2S file or the machine format? Very good idea. A very good comment. So when you're saving an embroidery design, I like to save it twice. I like to save my C2S file, which is native to the software. And then I like to save for my machine format because that C2S file is much easier to edit. So really good question there. Can you go a little slower? So hopefully, Angie, I tried to slow down so that maybe it would help with the audio. But Angie, you can rewatch this presentation as many times as you like. It will be on our YouTube channel. And so you can watch it as many times as you need to step through. What I recommend is watching and pausing and then doing the things that I step through so that you can do the same thing. So really good a good comment. So I'll try to make sure to go through a little bit slower. And then Arlene said auto vectorizing. Yes. So that wizard hat that I use to auto convert is an auto vectorizer. So if you have an image that you have found on the internet that's like a clip art type image, you can bring that through the wizard and it will automatically turn it into an artwork file that you can then convert to rhinestones or an embroidery file. So, and Sandra says, what's the difference between SVG and FCM? It's just the machines that read those files. So FCM, Sandra, is native to Brother. That is for the Brother Scan and Cut. SVG file is a scalable vector graphic, and there's actually a lot of different machines that read SVG. So Brother Scan and Cut will read your SVGs, but also the Silhouette Studio, Cricut cutters, the Caesar cutters, a lot of cutters will read the SVG files, whereas the FCM is only Brother Scan and Cut. So it's really a file format, and you just have to choose the one that works for your cutter. And she said she's keeping it as a PES. And so the PES, that's the reason for probably the notes. So if you save to a C2S, that will make sure to remember all your notes. But I'll go over there and we'll walk through that also so that you'll know exactly how to do that. So and we talked about that. So and then Reen says with cut and stitch, you could split the snowflake to put a name in the center. That is so true. Yes, you can. So I can use my slice tool to slice that and then enlarge the rhinestones and add an embroidery name. Yes, yes, yes. You can do all of that. So splitting the design for the snowflake, I would split it in the artwork form before you ever take it to become a rhinestone design or either a embroidery design. So I would split first. So in fact, that's actually a good segue back over there. So let's do that and then we'll answer some more questions. So to split a design, so Rain's suggestion was splitting the design. So I'm going to go back into my artwork design. So I'm going to just go back here and just copy this one. So I'm just going to copy and then open up a new workspace and then click paste. All I'm doing is just copying it so that I didn't have to go through the motions to create it again. I've already done that. And I'm going to ungroup it because this is grouped. So Reen suggested splitting this snowflake and putting a name in the middle of the name. So if I'm going to split this, I might, right now the flake is just slightly offset. So I would rotate it so that it is straight and then split right across, or either split in between. So that's really up to you, but your knife tool can help you with that. So if I click my knife tool and click on one side of the snowflake, and you can see now I've got this other line and this little black dot that wants me to go to another part of the design. So if I drag it straight across, you can see that I've got that line, that red line. And so now I have cut that my knife. That's what that red line signifies. And so now when I select it with my select tool and break that apart, it'll separate the two pieces. So to break apart, the icon on the toolbar is the easiest way to do that. And so now I have two objects instead of one. So let me do an undo and look over here in your sequence view, and you can see I have one snowflake, even though I have that slice in there, but it's still one object. So the break apart makes it two objects, and now I could separate these and put a name in the middle, just as Reen suggested. And look at that. I can tell by my click that I didn't cut straight, but hey, that's on me. I could rotate these just slightly, or if it's really off, use your grid. So my grid here can also help me make sure I'm cutting straight. I turn that off when I'm demonstrating because it kind of gets distracting. But yeah, that's actually a great idea. Love that, Reen. So Reen has the best ideas. So okay, so now let's talk about those notes. But then this also gives me the opportunity to talk about your text tool. So let me go to this design here. So here I have text on the screen. If I go over here to my sequence view, you can see that it says text and it says text. When it says text, it's a text object. That means I can go back and I can change this to a different word. So I could make it hello. And it will just correct this word on the screen. Okay, so if it's a text object, I can do this. When you convert this to an applique or rhinestone here on the toolbar, watch what happens. So if I click applique, now I have four separate applique objects. Applique, applique, applique. And now I can not select this and just go and change my text like I can the sweet home. See how sweet home is still a text object. So when I click on it, I can just make changes right here and reapply. Okay. I'm going to do an undo to get back to my home text that is artwork. So undo, it's thinking, thinking, thinking. There we go. And you can see that now it is a text object again. Now, one way to save this as a text object when you're doing Bling, I can't do it as an applique, but when I convert that to Bling, you can see that all I did was click that object, and now I've got four separate objects again. So I'm going to undo again so that I can show you. When I select this, look over here in your properties area. These are text specific properties. So when I click the drop down, the text specific types are satin, artwork, bling, or fill. So if I click here for bling fill or bling stroke and click apply, it converts it to bling, but it is still a text object. So do you see that? So now, even though it is bling, I can go up here and change, click apply, and it will make the adjustment for me. So only if it's a text object are you able to make those changes. This is the same case for all of the Dime software that has any text features built in. Now take a look at Sweet Home here, and I'm going to choose satin and click apply, and you can see that it got to satin text, and it is still a text object. So if I want to go up and change the text type or change my words, I can do so. Okay, so for the notes that we were just referring to, if you click on the page here away from your design, I'm not selecting anything. I'm just clicking in the white space. You can see here that I have notes. One thing that you want to make sure that you do with notes is you click the apply button. So I'm going to call this my hello design and click apply. So when I click apply, that's going to make sure that it saves. And then when I save this as a C2S file, I can come back and still see those notes. So let's just test it. So I'm going to say that we're testing our notes here. and I'm going to click save. And then we're going to close this one out, which was called our notes file. File open is going to open up a new page, or file merge, we'll put it on that page. And there's our notes file. And then you can see that my Hello Design notes are still there. So save it as your C2S file, but also make sure that you are clicking apply. If you do not click apply, so I can say Sweet Home here. And if I do not click apply, then those notes go away. You can see I didn't even have to save it for it to go away. So make sure you click apply when you add notes. So hopefully that will help you, and hopefully that helps you too on the text as well. So let's see if we have any more questions here on these designs. So we answered the FCM, we split the design, we talked about the notes, and I see that notes, looking for, there we go. So let's see. Elaine says, can the Ready Set Go used with this software? So Ready Set Go, I'm assuming, Elaine, that you're talking about the AccuQuilt Ready Set Go set. This, yes, you could create a shape and cut that with your Ready Set Go, but you do have to create that shape or either import it. So if you're referring to AccuQuilt's cutter, if they give you a digital file, then you can import that digital file into Cut and Stitch if you want, and use that file in any of the ways that we've talked about today. Or if you are going to create it, you have to know the exact dimensions. So for instance, those block pieces, like if it is a 4-inch finished square, then you have to make sure that you create that square shape in your software. So if you're talking about AccuQuilt, then you can read and write to digital formats from here, but you can also bring in that shape, convert it to an applique, but using your AccuQuilt cutter to cut out those shapes. The key is making sure that you get it into the software the exact right size to be able to change that into the type of stitching that you want. So that's a really good question. So I love my AccuQuilt cutter. So Cindy says, can you just have an outline on the letters? Yes, you can. So you can have an artwork outline, or you can have a run stitch outline or a satin stitch outline on the letters, or a bling outline, which is what I did with the hello. That is just the outline of the letters. So yes, you can outline in any of those different types and not put anything in the center. So hopefully that helps. So, and Jennifer says, breaking up, it's cycling about every 20 seconds. I really apologize for this. I will re-record these steps, and then we can always post that video in case any of the audio cuts out. But hopefully too, even without the audio, you can also see what I'm clicking on the video as well. Sorry. And then Dinah says, can you add a motif on outline letters? So that is actually a feature of another dime program. In Cut and Stitch, we do not have the motif outline option. You can do that with our My Quilt Embellisher software. And you can also do that with our Perfect Embroidery Pro program as well. Those are two that off the top of my head I can think of if you want that motif stitch. Those motif stitches are like the decorative stitches that we use for our, like you see them on your sewing machine, but we can also do them embroidery as well. So, okay, so before we go, let me go over and just show you a few more things so that I can get you the most information in this hour that I can. So let's head over back to the Cut and Stitch software. And I am going to talk about those 3 different designs again. So let's just reiterate this. So we talked about if you want to cut a design, you need to use the cutter. So select the design, click the cutter, and it says here that I need a larger, oh man, I must have this one huge if it doesn't fit in that 24 by 24. And so the cutter tool is for creating your cut file. So remember that. Select the artwork file, click the cutter tool. That's going to generate your cut file. For the rhinestone design, you're going to use File and Export Bling. Export Bling is going to export everything on the screen that is a rhinestone design. You can see that it even has done this for the snowflake that's separate that I didn't even have selected. So the Export Bling, everything on the screen that is a bling or a rhinestone, that's how you will save the file for the correct format and the right type of file, so that it's got all of those little circles. Okay, so export Bling for your files that are rhinestones. For your files that have embroidery, we need to have our embroidery file format. So you're going to do File, Save As, and choose the file format for your embroidery machine. So we save to all formats for all embroidery machines. So you choose the format that works with your machine. So PES for Brother Baby Lock. We have VP3 VIP for FOF and Viking. We also have JEF for Genome. We have the Bernina formats, EXP for Bernina. We have commercial formats, as you can see here, DST. So you choose the format that works with your embroidery machine and then click the save button. So remember, when you're saving your design, depending on what machine you're going to, if you're going to a cutter, you need a cutter format. If you're going to an embroidery machine, you need an embroidery machine format. So you save it and transfer it to the machine location. So some machines transfer wirelessly, some machines do take a USB stick, so you can transfer that way as well. So remember to save it in the format for your machine. Now back to that C2S file. So I always like to save my design in C2S. That way I can easily come back and edit. So I'm going to do Save As, and I'm going to call this our Home Sweet Home in C2S, and I'm going to click Save. And then I'm going to choose File, Save As, and I'm going to choose the PES format for my embroidery machine. And I'm going to show you what happens to those different formats. So I'm going to close out my C2S file, do File. You can either do Open on another workspace, or you can do Merge to bring it onto the workspace that you have open. And let's take our PES file here. So notice the PES file, it does not have anything about rhinestones or my artwork, because our PES files do not understand those types of files. So I can't use the rhinestone file on my embroidery machine. So you can see that my PES file only saved the embroidery parts of the design. Okay, so that's very important. So you can see how it's going to stitch out with what I had on the screen. Now, if I do File and Open and choose the one that is the C2S file and click Open, you can see that it comes back with everything. It has my embroidery parts, my rhinestone parts, and even my artwork parts as well. So when you're working on a file, and I always save my C2S copy no matter what I'm doing. Save that C2S format because it's the native to the software, so that you can get back to your editing. And then that also means that with your text, you'll be able to edit that text. So if I ungroup this and click on just my text object, you can see that the Sweet Home pops up for me to be able to edit. So just a few little tips. Those last few tips are for any dime software, not just cut and stitch. So now cut and stitch does allow you to import your own artwork. And so we'll talk about the more advanced things in 2 weeks when we do cut and stitch again. But just know, just to reiterate, for anywhere the sound was cutting out, start with your design and then choose how you want to prepare this media. So start with your design, like our home design here. If I want to cut it, I click the cutter tool. If I want to embroider it, I'm going to click on the applique options, either run stitch or applique satin stitch there. If I want it to be a rhinestone design, I simply click my rhinestone options. It can be a rhinestone outline or it can be a rhinestone fill. Okay, so that is all you have to know about using and getting started with cut and stitch is start with your design and then change it to the type of media you're going to be using, and then save it to the appropriate format for your digital cutter or for your embroidery machine. So hopefully that helps as well. So and so let's see what questions we have here. So Kelly says, on my desktop, it shows embroidery tool shed, but when I go to my registered components, I have all the functions registered. Does this mean I have the entire program from Dime that Dime has? So yes, Kelly. So embroidery tool shed is actually our free program. That's a fantastic question that I know that we get a lot of. So the embroidery tool shed is our free program that has some basic embroidery features, and every piece of Dime software that you purchase above and beyond the free one, it adds the tools to the shed. So hence the name. So every time you click on embroidery tool shed, if you have added, say, the cut and stitch tools or the block piecer tools, then your tool shed is growing and it's getting more powerful with every single program that you purchase. So embroidery tool shed, whenever you click on that icon, if you have registered other components, it's going to open them all up in this one location. So that's a really great question, and one that we do get repeated often because I know it's a bit confusing too. So, and then Christina says, where are you going to show us how to do the rhinestones into a cut file? So I created the rhinestone file in the software already, and I've saved it to my format. And then as soon as I answer these questions, I'm going to show you how that works on your digital cutter. I have a little video for you. And then Dalu says, where do I find the previous classes that you had on the first and the third Tuesday? So if you go to our YouTube channel, and I see that one of our team members posted the link there for you, you can actually go to all of the past episodes, and every time we have a new one, it'll be stored there as well. So another really great question, because I bet others have that question also. And so I think that, let's see here, I see another question just pop in. So Sin says, what all those homes on the screen can do you select and have one design under? I'm assuming she means PES. And so that's what I was just showing. So whenever you save a file to your PES format, if it has rhinestones or artwork, it's not going to save those parts of the file because PES is your embroidery machine format. So you have to have embroidery components for your machine to understand it. So when I saved this entire design as a PES, it only saved the formats that my machine would understand, which were the parts that were embroidery. So if you're saving for a cut file, make sure that you're using your cutter tool to generate the SVG file. And if it's a rhinestone, make sure that you're using the Bling export to get your file for your rhinestones as well. So really good questions. So, okay. So now if you have never done rhinestones, I do have a little video here to show you the entire process. So after you create your design file and you go to your embroidery machine, it's going to cut out all of those little circles, and those are cut out of this rhinestone template material. And so I have one that didn't come up, so I just pushed it down to make sure that it came up. But all of those little circles, those are the holes that you saw in the software. So this is a template, a rhinestone template. I usually place it down in like a small container that has some edges to contain my rhinestones. And you just use a swirling motion with this brush, and the rhinestones fall into those little circles that you've cut. And now I'm just raking away the excess rhinestones. To transfer this, you're going to use a heat safe transfer tape, and it's a tape, so it's sticky on the back. So when you remove that, it holds all your rhinestones in place, and now you're ready to fuse that onto an item. And I'm just doing this little bag here. So I place it down, and then I'm using my iron to iron or press for about 20 seconds in each area. And that is at a temperature of 320 degrees. And then when you lift your tape off, you can see my rhinestone design has remained. So to make a rhinestone design, you do want a digital cutter, because cutting out all those little circles will be virtually impossible for your you to do manually. And so if I go back over here and let's go back to like one of our, like this one here. So our that's Rhinestone. If I zoom in, if I turn off my 3D again, those little circles there, now that hopefully that makes a little more sense now, all of those little circles get cut out to make a rhinestone template. So hopefully that makes sense. And then that lifting tape is going to allow you to transfer it to your item and maintain the shape of your letter or your design we've got there. So, and then I see that Rava maybe that says, what's the trick for changing the colors? So our color palette works the same, whether it's rhinestones or stitches. So when you select a design, so if I zoom out here, when I select my HME, you can see that I have 3 color chips here. So if I click on any of those with a right mouse click, it will reassign the color. So right now, everything is pulling from chip number 1. If I do a right mouse click on the light blue, you can see that it changed my stitches to that light blue color. Let me do it on this one because that blue against the blue might actually show up better. So I right mouse click on the number 2 and it changed that color. Now, if you want to change the color that is assigned to color number 2, then you do your regular left click and then I can change that color chip to say a pink. Okay. And you can see that it changed the pink there. But if I select these and I want to change that to this blue or the black, I left click on that color chip and it'll change that color. And the same is true for the rhinestones. You can see my rhinestone palette here. Now I created this rhinestone palette and you can create your own ones. These are colors of stones that I own. So if I want to change the stone color, I just right mouse click on one of these colors and it changes that stone color. So right mouse click is going to change the selected design to the chip color that you're selecting or the bead color. If you want to change the color that's assigned to the chip, click on it. So like my blue one here, it'll allow me to change to different color stones and different size stones. So left click to change the color that's assigned to the chip, right mouse click to change the color of the object that you have selected. So hopefully that helps you on the changing your colors. So, and then one last question here. So please put a link to the Rhinestone template video. Thank you. It'll be in this video as well. So as this replays, you'll be able to see it play in my in the replay as well. Also, so that template material, the rhinestone lifting tape, and the brush and the rhinestones are all available on our website. But also check with your local dealer. I always urge you to go to your local dealer, support them, and chances are they might have a better deal than we do as well. So make sure that you check that out also. So hopefully that will help you guys get started with your cut and stitch. Now, just a reminder, these videos are on our YouTube channel. They will live there forever. So you can rewatch them as many times as you like. You can pause and duplicate and then restart it to continue to learn. So make sure that you follow us on Facebook to get those notifications of when we're going live, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're unfamiliar of how to do this, then take a look at this short video of how to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
In this video, we'll show you how to subscribe to a YouTube channel and follow a Facebook page through your phone. Let's start with YouTube. First, open your YouTube app on your phone. Once you're on your home page, search for the Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. Click on it and go to the channel page. Once on the channel page, click the subscribe button, and that's it. You're now subscribed to the channel. Now, let's move on to Facebook. First, open your Facebook app. Once on your home page, search for Designs in Machine Embroidery in the search bar at the top of the screen. Once on the profile page, click the 3 dots and select the follow button. And that's it. You're now following the page. Thanks for watching.
Awesome. So make sure you do that so that you're notified, and go back and rewatch those previous videos as many times as you'd like. So in 2 weeks, I will be back here for another software success, and we're going to do cut and stitch again. I always like to do the same piece of software a couple of times so that we can go a little bit more in depth. So hopefully this will get you started with your cut and stitch software if you haven't already started playing with it. But in 2 weeks, join me again because I will go over how to bring in artwork designs from outside sources, and we'll work on some more advanced things that you can do with cut and stitch software. And then I will also be reiterating some of the things that I talked about today. So it's always good to join because you might it might help you remember some of the things that we talked about today, but then also learn some new things as well. So on January the 16th at 1 p.m. Central, I will see you then. And again, the software I was using was the cut and stitch software. We do have it on our website for purchase, but please, if you have a local dealer that sells our dime software and hard goods, or even if you don't, go in and ask them about this program and maybe they'll bring it in for you. But check with your local dealers, support your local dealers. We would not be here if it weren't for our all the dealers that do carry and support our products. So please show them support as well. So until I see you in 2 weeks for the next software success, I'll say bye for now and thank you all for coming.